Here, we're going to introduce concepts to you. My 3 things, anytime you want to make a change in your life, do you remember what the 3 things you have to do if you ever want to make a change? You need to change your state, your story, and your strategy. Anytime you ever want to make a change in your life, those 3 things have to change. Your state, which is your emotional fitness, is what we're going to discuss tonight. Your story is really the reason why you tell yourself you can't do something. Paralyzed from the waist down. So it was very easy for me to fall into a mode of a victim. Anybody here ever been in the victim mode? Anybody here know anybody who's been in a victim mode? Anybody related to anybody who lives in a victim mode? We've all got those. We've all got those. How quickly does it take you to recognize that pattern when somebody lives in a victim mode? Immediately. You know what's funny about that? It doesn't matter what culture you talk to, where they are in the world, we pick that up immediately. It's universal. What we're going to talk about tonight is some universal things that we pick up in emotional patterns. Okay. According to Ask.com, on an average day, the average person makes about 612 decisions. All right, so that comes out to about almost 5,000 decisions a week. Yeah, it's a lot of decisions. Ladies, raise your hand if you agree with this. Does your brain ever feel like a computer screen with 100 screens open, 100 tabs open? Now here's something interesting. I'll talk about this about the anatomy on masculine and femininity. Males have 6 sensors. Women have about 14 more sensors to pick up tone, to pick up visual cues, to pick up emotions, to feel connectivity. Men have about 6. So when you get into an argument with your spouse, and he's a very masculine person, you're a very feminine woman, and you say, he's just not listening to me. He just doesn't hear what I have to say. Have you ever had this conversation before? You're right. You're absolutely right. But it's not that he's not listening. He can't hear you. He can't hear you. You know why? Because like you're one of the people that raised your hand, your brain is open with that computer screen with about 1,000 different things. Not only do you have, let's say 100, you have 100 different screens that are open, you're trying to be successful and the best at every one of those screens that's open. Because you don't want to drop your standards. Anybody here ever try to juggle 100 balls at one time? Is it easy to maybe juggle 3? Guess what masculine energy does to things like that? Masculine energy is the hunter. Masculine energy focuses on what the task at hand needs to be, and it fixes it. So it takes all this distraction and it focuses on a football game. And you're wondering why I can't have a conversation with you because the Giants are playing. But of course you can have a conversation, you can make dinner, you can bounce a ball on one foot, and you can change a diaper. And you're like, he's just not listening. See, this is a physiological difference. But there's a way through this. There's a way through this. But I do want you to get, if you're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, how successful is that going to be? No, but if you know the rules on how this works, then it's not so frustrating. It's not so aggravating. How are choices made? Every second of every day, this is how we make a choice. Like right now, sitting in this room right now, you're either judging yourself or judging me, saying, is this worth my time? Was it worth the $20 that I spent to get in today? Is it, you're asking yourself all these questions. You're thinking about work, and then, I'm going to say something that's going to trigger something in your mind. You're going to say, hey, that's a solution to a problem I had 3 days ago. Our brains are constantly working, but our brains are doing this. Our brains work this way. What am I focusing on? What does it mean to me? And then what am I going to do about it? This is how your brain works every second of every day. So now if you're somebody who can focus on one thing at a time, then it's very easy to have a meaning for that, and then it's very easy to make an action. But if you're somebody who focuses on 25 things at one time, then the meaning can easily get confused. You follow me here? So if you're focusing on just on fewer things, then the meaning that you attach to it is a little bit easier to identify. Now, when you put a meaning on anything, if I said, paint me a red ball to everybody in this room, do you think everyone here would paint the same red ball? No. Now, what are you going to bring to the table? You're going to bring to the table your past experiences, whether that's brought you pleasure or pain, and then the visualization that you have, and then the next piece of this is what does that mean to you? Now, if you were in 3rd grade, anybody ever played dodgeball? And the last thing you remember about 3rd grade is a red ball coming at you at 100 miles an hour, and you take that right in the face, and you got hit in the face, and that was stinging and painful, and everybody laughed at you. Do you think maybe you would have a different meaning than somebody else who threw the ball at 100 miles an hour at you? This is how our brains work. It takes their experiences, it takes what it means to us, and then that's the action that we make. People's greatest fears. Now this ties into how the decisions get made. Really, it's this simple. It's this simple the way our brains work. After thousands of years of human development, what we know for sure is this, is that the brain really comes down to 2 things, pain or pleasure. Pain or pleasure. That's all it's asking itself. It has your values, it has your belief system, it has everything that you've ever experienced, it has things, your ambitions, it has your loves, it has your wants, it has everything contained in this brain, and it takes all those calculations, puts it together. At the time of decision, it says pain or pleasure. And however you attach the meaning to those experiences is how the brain interprets it, whether it's going to be pain or pleasure. Our two biggest fears in life. Fear number one is fear of not being enough. Now, not all of us like to admit this, especially if you're masculine men in this room. You never like to admit that you're not enough, but it's a fear that all of us have. No matter what you do, everybody on some level, the fear that really scares them to death is not being enough and being exposed for it. The next one is losing love of others. This is really when you break down what your deep core issues are with children, your deep core issues are with employees, deep core issues are with loved ones, with relatives. If you break down to really where some of the behaviors are coming from, it's going to be one of these two things. Now, you may have to go through 15, 20, or 30 emotional stacks on top of this before you get to this. Everybody follow me what I'm saying here? If you come to the table and you clear your mind and you can get crystal clarity with people, you get crystal clarity with people when you recognize that these two things are what's underlying the fear of all people. Because what allows you to do is find a higher intent for somebody. I had a couple talk to me, and the husband is outrageously jealous to the point where he had to come in and meet me in this office. He did not want his wife anywhere near this office. He emailed me online and said, hey, I get that, let's have a face-to-face. She needs the care. I'm not that type of person. There's nothing here for you to fear. You know what his highest intent is? His biggest fear, first of all, is, what do you think his biggest fear is?
Being enough.
Not being enough. Not being enough. And when we dug a little bit deeper, the poor guy just lost a job 8 months ago. So he's making incredible money before, incredible status at work. He lost a job. So most men who feel like they need to be significant or feel like they need to be making a difference before they allow love to slip in, this is what we see. Now, if I was just a total jerk and this guy was coming at me and you didn't recognize the highest intent, do you think we would have ever been able to build rapport from there? So it was a good example. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I don't like calling people out sometimes, but this is what coaching is about. It's about finding out where, maybe your beliefs are no longer serving you. How many people in here have ever been 21?
Yay.
So at 21, I had a belief system that served me when I was 21. I just turned 42 the other day. Thank God that I learned those lessons, because I would never got to the point that I'm in my life right now where I would have recognized that those belief systems no longer serve me. And that's what we have to ask ourselves sometimes. Is the belief system that we have no longer serving us? And is the belief system that we have blinding us to what's happening right now in front of us? And if that's the case, it no longer serves you if it does not bring you the truth.